Credit cards seem to get a bad reputation. So today I am going to share how you can choose the right credit card for you, as well as the credit cards I keep in my wallet. There's a lot of personal finance jargon on the internet, but here at Break Your Budget, we cut through the crap and focus on getting the basics right. So, credit cards seem to be a topic that is super confusing. And I personally, I'll die on this hill, feel as though credit cards can be a tool that help accelerate your financial progress, but only when used correctly. When you use credit cards responsibly, you can build and boost your credit score, you can earn rewards, and ultimately you can save money on things you would otherwise already be spending your money on. It really is a win win. But again, and I really want to emphasize this, only when you use them correctly and responsibly. So, what do I mean when I say using your credit cards correctly? First, you never ever want to put anything on your credit card that you couldn't pay off in full at that moment. I like to treat my credit card essentially like a debit card. So, anytime I buy something on there, especially if it's a big purchase, I will go and pay it off pretty much right away. I generally pay my credit cards off once a week. I don't see any harm in waiting every month. I think that's a myth. A lot of people say if you pay your credit cards every month, you earn more rewards. I don't know where we're getting that from because it's not true. And second, I never, ever, ever carry a balance on my credit card, and you shouldn't either. Carrying a balance means that you are putting more money on your credit card than you can pay off in totality every month, and thus are accruing interest. When you accrue interest, the interest that you pay goes to fund the rewards that other people are earning for using their credit cards responsibly. So if you're buying things that you can't afford to pay off in the moment and then are accruing interest because you're carrying a balance, you're better off just not using a credit card at all. Now, assuming you are somebody who uses credit cards correctly, here is what we are going to cover in today's video. First, I'm going to share how you can find the right credit cards for you based off of your lifestyle and your spending patterns. Then we'll go through the cards that I currently have in my wallet, how I use them, and why I chose them. So with that, let's just get right into it. There are so many credit cards out there, so it can be a little bit challenging to find the right credit card for you. Generally speaking, the goal is to find the card that optimally aligns your spending patterns with the rewards that it offers. So let's break this down. The first thing you need to do is actually take a closer look at the way you're spending your money. If you aren't tracking your expenses, hello and welcome to Break Your Budget, where we track our expenses diligently every week and every month. Here is your reminder that you need to get in the habit of doing that. If you're looking for a tool, I've got you covered. You can check out the basic budgeting template or the personal finance dashboard. I have tons of videos where I go over how you can use these. The reason why your spending patterns are important as part of this process is twofold. First is because you need to figure out if a cashback card or a travel card would make more sense for you. In some cases, you may want to have both. For example, if you travel a lot, then it may make more sense for you to open up a travel rewards card so that you can save money on booking flights and hotels. But if you don't travel often, or maybe you travel once or twice a year, it may then make more sense for you to use a cashback card and optimize that way instead. But second, and even more important, each card offers different rewards based off of different types of spending. So it's important to have a clear idea of what categories you are spending the most money on so that when you're choosing your cards, you can identify if this card is going to offer the most points based off of each specific spending category, as opposed to choosing a card that offers the most points back on spending categories that you may not be spending a lot in. Because ultimately, you want to get the most bang for your buck and stretch every dollar that you're spending as far as it can possibly go. And you do this again by optimizing your high spend categories with the cards that offer rewards for those higher spend categories. It sounds a lot more confusing than it actually is, so bear with me. Second, you need to consider the rewards and the benefits that you're looking for. As I mentioned earlier, you can choose between a travel rewards card or a cashback card. But within these two broader categories, there are tons of different types of cards that you can choose from. So let's start here with travel cards. Travel cards offer you rewards and points for your spending that you can then redeem on flights and hotels. Depending on the card, you can transfer points to different travel partners, or you can book travel directly through the portal that's within your card issuer. There are different types of travel cards, and they range in terms of benefits as well as annual fees. So we'll talk about those in a moment. But generally speaking, the more premium and higher fee cards tend to come with the most benefits. benefits. And the lower fee cards are going to come with the least. It makes sense. And just to name a few of the benefits that these cards could offer, specifically, again, the more premium, higher fee cards offer the most of these. They could be airline fee credits, digital entertainment, insurance coverage, discounts on different products. Like the list is pretty endless. Where this gets complicated is that each card is distinctly different. So, what you want to be doing when you're evaluating the cards is really balancing the amount of rewards that you'd be getting with what you'd pay in the annual fee. And then the other layer to look at with these travel cards is who the travel partners are for that specific card issuer or bank. Different banks have different partners, and that limits who you can transfer your points to. So, for example, with American Express, one of their main travel partners is Delta. So, if you fly Delta a lot, then an American Express card may make sense for you. But on the flip side, Chase's travel partner is United, or one of their main travel partners is United. And so, if you fly United a lot, then it may make sense for you to have a Chase card. This is something that you really do need to pay attention to when you're choosing your card, because you want to make sure that the points you're earning can actually be used on the rewards that you want. This actually happened to me where last year I got an American Express card, not realizing that I couldn't transfer those points to United. And it wasn't the end of the world, but it was a frustrating realization where I had a bunch of points and I had to book a flight that wasn't optimal so that I could actually use the points. So keep that in mind so that you don't make the same mistakes. Now, moving on to cashback cards, these cards are generally a little bit more straightforward compared to the travel rewards cards. With these types of cards, you can earn a percentage of cash back on your spending, and then you can take that cash back and either apply it to your credit card statement or you can redeem it, usually for gift cards. There are so many different types of cashback cards, and they all offer various amount of cash back for different things. So, for example, you could get a card that offers 3% cash back on everything, or you could get a card that offers 6% cash back on dining and 2% cash back on groceries. This is why it's so important to know your spending category, specifically your highest spend category, so that if you are choosing a cashback card, and really even with the travel rewards card, you can best align your spending with the cards that's going to optimize the most amount of cash back or the most amount of points. Because this principle does also apply to travel rewards cards. So, for example, with some cards, you could get 5x on travel, 3x on dining. And so, if you don't know what your spending categories are, you could end up misaligning and then you're not getting as much bang for your buck. And third, you need to pay attention to annual fees. You should never pay an annual fee if you are not reaping more than that annual fee in benefits. And annual fees can range anywhere from $50 to now even close to $1,000 for some premium cards. But there are also plenty of cards where there are no fees. So it just, again, depends on the cards. But obviously, if you're paying a higher fee, the likelihood you're going to get more benefits is pretty high. That being said, if you are going to pay an annual fee, which is totally fine, you do need to make sure you itemize the benefits so you can actually parse through if they're benefits you would use so that you can actually get what you're paying for. For example, let's look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. This is a high fee card. The fee is $795. It actually was just raised. So it's one of the most expensive cards on the market. But when you pay that fee, you get all of these rewards. And I have them listed out here on my computer. You get a $300 annual travel credit. You get a $300 dining credit at Chase approved restaurants. So, with some of these rewards, there are caveats. You have to make sure you read the fine print. So, you need to look at what those restaurants are and see if you would actually go to them. You get a $120 Dash Pass membership credit. So, if you use Dash Pass frequently, this is actually good savings. You get $25 a month on DoorDash. The caveat with this one is that it's broken up into a $5 food credit and then two $10 credits on groceries and deliveries. Really annoying how they do that. But again, if you use DoorDash and Dash Pass, then it's definitely worth it. Again, assuming like you get the benefits from all these other credits as well. You get a $300 StubHub credit. That's actually a really good benefit if you go to concerts or games or whatever. $120 credit towards Lyft. This is usually broken up into monthly increments. And then you get free Apple Music and Apple TV, which is a $250 value. So if you actually use up all of these credits all year long, then obviously you're getting way more value than the $800 that you're paying. Plus, on top of this, you get access to all of their lounges, which includes free meals and drinks when you go to the airport. And I will say, I went into the Chase Sapphire Lounge in Philly. It was phenomenal. So I actually don't have a Chase Sapphire card because I have an Amex card. We'll talk about that. But again, when you're thinking about the cost of the card versus the rewards that you're getting, if you are someone who travels frequently and you would go into the lounges often and you would use these perks, then it could be worth paying that really high fee because you're getting so many more benefits in dollar value compared to what you're paying. And that's not even including the value you get from the points that can then be applied to like flights and hotels and whatnot. Again, this ties back to why it's so important to be tracking your expenses, because when you're evaluating rewards and benefits, it just makes it a lot easier to really know if you would actually use the benefits. So when you're looking at annual fees, you need to be sure of two things. First, that the benefits outweigh the price. And second, that you will actually use up all of the benefits. One of my favorite resources for browsing cards and looking at pros and cons lists of different cards is the Points Guy. For all of the popular cards, honestly, I think for all the cards that exist, what he does is he outlines the pros and cons, the rewards, the benefits, what he thinks about it. And it just makes it really easy to browse through different credit cards, different travel rewards, different airline cards, because again, there's so many cards to choose from and it can be really overwhelming. Now, let's move on to the credit cards that I have in my wallet. I actually have three main cards that I use. First is my Amex Platinum card, and this card actually just had a fee increase. It went up to $895 annually, which is crazy. But my card actually renewed at the $695 annual fee, which I still think is pretty high before that fee increase went into play. So I actually get all of the benefits of the higher fee card without having to pay it this year, which is fantastic. That's on breaking your budget. Really, it was just luck. This is the only like premium luxury card that I have. And the catalyst for why I opened this card was my trip to Japan earlier this year. I opened this card up last year in anticipation for that. And I ended up being able to use a lot of the perks and rewards and credits to subsidize some of the costs of that trip, which is the whole point. This card is a really great card if you do a lot of travel because you get 5x points on travel purchases. The downside is that you only get 1x points on anything else. So I put 100% of my travel purchases on this card so that I can be earning the 5x points. But I use my other cards for the majority of my other spending. So we'll talk about that in a second. This card is really only worth it if you do a lot of travel already. And that's why I bought it for this year. And I'm going to keep it for one more year. And then next year, I'm going to reevaluate and I may downgrade it actually to the Amex Gold. But beyond just the point structure, this card also offers a ton of rewards and benefits. So I'm going to read through what they are because I have them listed out here on my computer. So you get a $200 airline incidental fee to cover checked bags, seat changes, stuff like that. You get $600 credit on hotels from the Amex Fine Hotel Collection. So it's important to note that you actually need to stay at one of these hotels in order to get that credit. And the hotels are expensive. So, again, when we're thinking about premium or luxury travel, if you're not someone who is going to stay at a nice hotel that's part of this collection, then it might not be worth it because you don't get that $600 credit. Next is the $200 in Uber Cash. This is fantastic. I use this every month. It is broken up into monthly increments, but it's great because it subsidizes some of my Ubers. You get $120 towards Uber One, which covers the cost for the year. So it ends up being free, which is great because I already was using Uber One. And so now that just gets comped. You get $300 in digital entertainment credit that can be used on Wall Street Journal, Hulu, Disney Plus, stuff like that. This is also great because I use Hulu and I also subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. So again, those are just comped now. You get $400 credit towards Resi restaurants, but this is broken up quarterly. This is a fantastic new perk. I used it in Q3. I'm going to use it in Q4. You just have to make sure you go to a Resi restaurant, and like Resi restaurants are everywhere. So this actually really isn't hard to use. You get reimbursed for TSA PreCheck and also Clear. You get a $200 Aura Ring credit, which I used because as you can see, I am now wearing an Aura Ring. You get $300 to Lululemon, but again, that's also broken up quarterly. So you get $75 every quarter. You get a $100 Saks credit that's broken up every 6 months. You get $50 for the first half of the year and $50 for the back half of the year. This one's annoying because there really is nothing you can get at Saks for $50. I use it to get eyebrow pencils. And then you also get a $300 Equinox credit, which is great if you use Equinox. I don't, so that's not a reward that I can use. Plus, you also get access to all of the Amex Centurion lounges. You get access to all the Priority Pass lounges, and you also get 10 visits to the Delta Sky Club, which, in my opinion, is the best perk ever because I love flying Delta and I love the Delta Sky Club. So, clearly, if you are someone who would actually use all of these perks, then that $895 fee pays for itself multiple times over. I use them all, and honestly, the only ones that I haven't used are the $300 Equinox credit because I don't go to Equinox, and then also the Clear credit. And I don't know why I haven't signed up for that, but recording this is my reminder that I need to sign up for Clear. The other benefit of this card and why I chose it is that their main airline transfer partner is Delta. And I fly Delta all the time from Chicago to Boston. So I'm able to redeem the points that I earn on Delta flights. And then I can use my card to get into the Delta Sky Club. And it just makes the travel experience so much better. As I mentioned earlier, I may downgrade this card to the Amex Gold next year before my fee renews. But I will say, if you are someone who is looking for a premium or luxury card and you're deciding between the Amex Platinum and the Chase Sapphire Reserve, I think that the benefits and perks you get with the Amex Platinum are significantly better than the Chase Sapphire Preferred. But I would really make sure you look at the travel transfer partners because that is the biggest indicator, in my opinion, of which card you should go with. If you are someone who's like well versed in credit cards and transfer partners and all of that, I'd love to hear you weigh in the comments. The second card that I have in my wallet, and I would say this is the card that I use on most of my everyday purchases, is my Bilt Rewards card. This is another travel rewards card, and the main travel partner that I use with Bilt is United. So my Amex card covers my Delta flying, and my Bilt card covers my United flying. So that's sort of how I optimize for having points that I can transfer to those two main airlines. This card currently has no fee, but they have told us that it will likely change in 2026. And I am anticipating that there will be a fee with this card. I just have no idea how much it could be. What I love about this card and why I got it is that it allows you to earn points on your rent without having to pay a credit card processing fee. So if you are someone who pays rent every month, this card is definitely, in my opinion, worth having because you earn so many more points because obviously rent is very expensive. So for me, I pay $27.50 every month for my one bedroom apartment here in Chicago. It's ridiculous, but it's lovely. And now I earn 2,800 points a month on rent that I otherwise wasn't earning. So I've only had this card for a few months and I already have well over 20,000 points just from my rent and then from like everyday spending. With this card, you get 3x on dining. So I use this anytime I go out to eat, with the exception of now going forward my quarterly $100 Resi dinner that I'll get on my Amex card. But I use this to eat out. I use it on coffee. I use it on most of the things that I'm doing outside of my apartment. And then what I also like about this card is they have what they call rent day deals. So on rent day, which is the first of the month, they offer different benefits, different rewards, or different redemption deals for your points. But then also you get 2x points or 5x points on different categories. It's great. We will see the changes that happen to the card next year. As I mentioned, they've been very transparent that the card will be changing in 2026. So I may come back and do a reevaluation on it if the changes are substantial. But for now, I really, really like my Bilt card and I'm so happy that I got it. The last card that I use is my Blue Cash Everyday card from Amex. This is a no-fee cashback card. And with this card, I earn 3% cash back on groceries and on gas. So groceries are actually one of my higher spend categories. I currently don't spend a ton of money on gas because I don't have my car here in Chicago. That being said, I do spend money on gas when I go home because that's where I'm driving my car. My car is parked at my parents' house. So when I do get gas, I put it on this card. But objectively speaking, the main reason why I got this card is because A, it has no fee and I didn't have a cashback card. But B, because my Amex card and also my Bilt card don't have any direct rewards for grocery shopping. So with both of those cards, I'm only earning 1x points on my grocery spend. And so in order to get, the most bang for my buck, which is the theme of this lesson, I felt it made more sense for me to have one card. I put all my groceries on it. I earn the cash back and then I apply that cash back retroactively smoothly to my statement. So ultimately, it just helps me save a little bit of money on my grocery bill each month. That's really all there is to it for this one. It's pretty simple. I have no qualms with it, and it's been working really well for me. So overall, those are my tips on how you can choose the right card and optimize based off of your spending, as well as the cards that are in my wallet. I reevaluate my cards annually because I always want to make sure that I am A, using up all the benefits, and B, making sure that I'm getting the most bang for my buck for the fees that I am paying. So here's your reminder: if you do have credit cards, make sure you review those benefits, especially as we get closer to the end of the year, because generally the benefits and rewards will expire year over year. Not the points. I'm talking about the like credit card rewards. So digital entertainment reimbursements and airline fee credits and stuff like that. You want to make sure you use them up on a calendar year basis. So double check those before the end of 2025. If you are interested in exploring any of the cards that I mentioned, I will make sure they are all linked in the show notes. And if you are looking for a card that's different than the ones that I mentioned, I highly recommend checking out the Points Guy because his website is just really easy to navigate and to find and parse through all of the different cards. As always, polite discourse is always welcome. If you have thoughts or insights or something to add to this conversation, I would love to hear from you. And with that, I will catch you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.